Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
Your watermelon vines are growing like crazy, covering the garden with big green leaves and long runners. But where are the melons? What if the real problem is something you have been doing wrong all season without even knowing it? Welcome to the Smart Gardener. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a practical gardening tip each week. Here is the truth that catches many home gardeners off guard. Beautiful vines do not always mean a harvest is coming. In fact, the healthier your plant looks on the surface, the easier it is to miss what is quietly going wrong underneath. Today we are breaking down 6 common mistakes that stop watermelon plants from setting fruit. And more importantly, we are sharing research-backed solutions so you can turn things around before the season slips away. The first mistake is one that fools even experienced gardeners, and that is ignoring pollination. You walk through your patch and see dozens of bright yellow flowers opening every morning. Everything looks productive, but week after week, nothing forms. Here is what most people do not realize. Watermelon plants produce separate male and female flowers, and each female flower needs between 500 and 1,000 pollen grains delivered by bees to set fruit. That means at least 8 bee visits for seeded varieties and up to 24 visits for seedless types. And here is the catch. Each flower is only open for a single day. If bees do not show up that morning because of bad weather, nearby pesticide spraying, or simply a lack of flowering plants to attract them, that flower is gone forever. You might notice tiny baby melons behind the female flowers start to yellow and shrivel within days. Many gardeners blame watering, but the real issue happened during pollination. The fix starts with observation. Watch your flowers in the early morning. Plant pollinator-friendly flowers nearby. When bee activity is low, hand pollinate using a small brush or a male flower. Research has shown that even placing simple flower lures near your patch can increase fruit set by 20%. Now, the second mistake often surprises people because it looks like success. Feeding too much nitrogen. If your vines are exploding with growth, the leaves are unusually dark green, and the canopy is thick like a jungle, but you barely see any female flowers, you are likely dealing with a nitrogen overload. Too much nitrogen sends the plant a clear signal to keep building leaves and runners, instead of producing fruit. Studies have found that excess nitrogen during flowering can cause the loss of up to 1/3 of all female flowers. That is a massive hit to your harvest. The type of nitrogen matters too. Nitrate-based fertilizers help the plant absorb calcium and potassium more effectively during the flowering stage compared to ammonium-based products. The solution is straightforward. Test your soil before you fertilize. Split your nitrogen into smaller doses throughout the season rather than applying it all at once. Once your vines are established, switch to a balanced fertilizer that supports blooming. And whatever you do, avoid using lawn fertilizer or fresh manure on your watermelon beds. But even when pollination and feeding are dialed in, there is another mistake happening quietly below the surface that trips up a lot of growers. The third mistake is one that starts with good intentions but ends up costing you melons. And that is inconsistent watering during flowering and fruit set. A ripe watermelon is 92% water, so the plant needs to pull an enormous amount of moisture from the soil while building each fruit. Many gardeners water heavily when they notice dry soil, then skip a few days because the vines still look green. From above, everything seems fine, but below the surface, the roots go through repeated cycles of stress and recovery. That is when flowers drop early, tiny melons stop growing, or young fruit turns yellow and falls off the vine. Think of it in 3 stages. During early growth, give your plants 1 to 2 inches of water per week to build strong roots. During flowering and fruit set, keep moisture as steady as possible, because this is the most critical window, and the biggest yield losses happen right here. Then, as harvest approaches, reduce or stop watering 1 to 2 weeks before picking. This actually concentrates the sugars and makes your melons sweeter while preventing the fruit from cracking. Check soil moisture by pushing your finger 3 to 4 inches deep. Use drip irrigation when you can, and spread straw mulch to hold moisture evenly between waterings. The fourth mistake is one that starts the very day you put your seedlings in the ground, and that is crowding your plants too close together. Early in the season, a packed bed looks amazing. Green everywhere, no bare soil. and the patch seems to overflow with life. But as those vines expand, leaves start stacking on top of each other. Airflow gets choked off, and sunlight cannot reach the lower canopy. Female flowers only appear about every 7th node on the vine, so there are not many to begin with. When they get buried under layers of foliage, pollinators simply cannot find them. Meanwhile, the trapped humidity creates perfect conditions for fungal diseases. The recommended spacing tells the real story. Full-size varieties need 24 to 30 square feet per plant, with rows 6 to 8 feet apart and plants spaced 3 to 6 feet within the row. Smaller varieties can work with about 13 to 14 square feet each, and if you are tight on space, bush-type varieties are a great alternative. A well-spaced patch may look a little bare at first, but it creates the foundation for stronger fruit production as the weeks go on. Now, the next 2 mistakes are ones that many growers do not even think about until it is almost too late. The 5th mistake is all about timing, and it catches more gardeners off guard than you might think. When vines are spreading fast and covering the bed with green, it is easy to assume fruit will show up eventually. So you wait. Week after week, you tell yourself the melons are coming. But watermelon plants need 70 to 90 days of consistent warm weather to produce and mature fruit. Once a plant sets a few melons, it naturally slows down on setting more because it redirects energy toward the fruit it already has. If you miss that early window because pollination was poor, or watering was off, or the plants were too crowded, the season keeps moving forward, whether you are ready or not. Nighttime temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit can cause flowers to drop, and daytime heat above 95 degrees can stall the entire plant. The best habit you can build is walking through your patch every few days, checking flowers, watching for baby melons, and noting whether bees are visiting. Small problems spotted early are easy to fix. The same problems ignored for weeks become the reason you end the season empty-handed. Now, the 6th and final mistake is one that most videos and guides never even mention, and it might be the most important of all. It is ignoring what is happening beneath the soil. Everything above ground can look perfectly healthy, while the real trouble hides underground. Watermelons need a soil acidity level between 6.0 and 6.8. Outside that range, the plant struggles to absorb nutrients no matter how much fertilizer you apply. There is also a trace element called boron that plays a huge role in fruit set. Boron is essential for pollen to germinate and for the pollen tube to grow, which means without enough boron, pollination can fail even when bees are doing their job perfectly. Sandy soils are especially prone to losing boron through leaching. Then there are hidden threats like fusarium wilt, a soil fungus that can survive in the ground for years and causes vines to wilt and die one side at a time. The best defense is rotating your crops so that watermelons and their relatives like squash and cucumbers do not go in the same spot for at least 3 years. Choosing disease-resistant varieties adds another layer of protection. Vine borers are another silent destroyer. The larvae tunnel inside the stem and eat the plant from within, causing sudden wilting even when the soil is perfectly moist. Row covers placed right after planting and removed at flowering can keep the adult moths from laying eggs on your vines. A simple soil test before each growing season can reveal problems you would never see just by looking at your plants, and it costs very little compared to losing an entire harvest. So let us bring it all together. 6 mistakes that quietly steal your watermelon harvest. Poor pollination, too much nitrogen, inconsistent watering, overcrowded plants, waiting too long to act, and ignoring what is happening beneath the soil. The good news is that none of these require expensive tools or complicated techniques. A successful watermelon season comes down to paying attention, making small adjustments early, and giving your plants what they need at the right time. I would love to hear from you. Which of these mistakes have you run into before? Drop your story in the comments below. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who loves gardening. And if you have not already, subscribe to The Smart Gardener and turn on notifications so we can keep growing together. Remember, the sweetest harvest always starts with a little patience and a lot of attention to the small things. Happy gardening, my friends.